Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everybody to Tiger Claw Radio. This is your host, Critical Failure. And we've got quite a show for you this week. Hang on, crackety crackle. I've been looking forward to doing this one because this is the day when we get the new Chiptunes equals Win sampler. And you know what? We're gonna find this. We're gonna do this together. Chiptunes equals Win number 7 was supposed to come out today, and I'm logging into the Bandcamp right now. I'm not seeing it. Hang on 1 second. It didn't come out. We didn't get it. I don't know. Oh well. That aside, I've got some other awesome stuff. It's been quite a week. So let's just dig right into it, guys. This track is called Secret Abstraction from Cliphead. This is an oldie, making its second appearance here on Tiger Claw Radio. there's no time to spare. No time at all, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to jump into the van and travel back in time to the beginning of the week with the Vancast. You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
Good morning, everybody. It's the Vancast. It's Monday morning, and I am ready to go face the week. I had a good weekend, a really good weekend. This morning I got up about 5 o'clock like I normally do, sat down at my machine, posted TCR for the week, and I experimented with some YouTube live streaming. Now, I did a little live streaming on Twitch, not much, but I set Twitch up so that I could stream some MS-DOS games early in the morning. This was a while ago now. I got up early and I would play Jill of the Jungle for about a half an hour. And then when it was all done, I would make the YouTube post, and that was that. Didn't get many people in. A couple people dropped in and checked it out. I mean, you know how it goes. But it was a good way for me to record YouTube content and still, leave the door open for other future possibilities. Well, now I can do that directly on YouTube. So if you're subscribed to TigerClawTV.com, keep an eye on that subscription feed, and we'll see what we can get going in the live department. I would really like to do a live edition of TCR. It's been years since I've tried something like that. I think that would be a good time. But in the meantime, that's new and exciting technologies, which I'm putting to use. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I played a game called Alpha Man. Alpha Man is an old MS-DOS game, and I don't know exactly when it came out, but it's an ASCII graphics MS-DOS game, so those tend to be on the really old side. And this is a roguelike, but it's an ASCII graphics MS-DOS version of what you would think of when you say roguelike. True ASCII graphics, true turn-based graphics, turn-based gameplay. Randomized environments, the whole bit. One thing this game does that other roguelikes like Rogue and NetHack and whatnot don't do is the idea that you have random levels inside of a random map. Like there's a map screen with levels inside it, which typically, Rogue was a maze. Rogue was a maze game at its core. You would get through the maze, get to the next level, and then get through that level to get to the next level, up until level 16 where there was like a ring or something. Interesting take. And then on top of the whole concept of there being a more open, wider sort of ASCII graphics world, there was also the concept that it takes place in a post-apocalyptic setting, right? You're the Alpha Man. Just like Omega Man, except the Alpha Man, so that they don't get sued. You play as Charlton Heston in this MS-DOS world. So that was pretty fun. That was a good way to start the day. Did that for a little while, and now I'm off on my way to work. So I did it, boys and girls. I ordered a game for about $6. It's the first game I've ordered in a little while. It's for the original PlayStation, and it's a game called Vigilante 8. I like those car combat games, man. They were big for me back in the day. Twisted Metal 1 and 2, right? Those are hugely popular. It's weird to think of now, but at that time, Twisted Metal was one of these games where it was like kind of one of the faces of PlayStation, right? It was never the mascot for PlayStation, because in those days Crash Bandicoot was the mascot, but it was up there. Twisted Metal 2 was one of these like must-have games that everybody who had a PlayStation had back in those days. And Twisted Metal 2 I picked up at not a garage sale, but I got it thrifting probably about three months ago. So I got that now, and I've ordered Vigilante 8. Now my copy of Vigilante 8 is disc only, but I figure I can rig up something. I just wanted to play that game again. I can get a CD jewel case. I can print my own cover. It's not as important as if it were like, I don't know, a Sega Genesis game or one of these games that have exotic boxes or something. I think an old PlayStation game, unless it's a big box game. The big box PlayStation games, I have to get those in the big box because those boxes are amazing. Nothing quite like a big box PlayStation game. Speaking of which, the original Twisted Metal was a big box PlayStation game. I went after that. That was the game I wanted to buy, was the original Twisted Metal. But it was just a little bit too much money this time out. So Vigilante 8, if you're not familiar with it, was like, it was Twisted Metal, but set in the 1970s during a gas shortage with like a big, funk disco soundtrack. It was incredible. It was a really good game. I remember among the cars that you could drive, one of them was a school bus, which is like unheard of today. Violence towards a school bus is like something you wouldn't see that today. So I'm looking forward to that arriving in the mail and getting to play that again. This is being recorded on August 13th, and I gotta say, I'm shocked that August is almost half over. Time is just unstoppable. It's an unstoppable machine, and it's relentless. So, I mentioned this at the end of the show last week, but I'm thinking like, it was like the 24th, the 27th, not next week, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. I'm thinking we should do our Doom night, right? Did you guys download Xandronum? Did you get it installed? Let's play some Doom. Let's shoot it out. I hope you guys picked up Doom 2 off of Steam while it was $1.25 this past week on QuakeCon. All you need is the Doom 2.wad, unless we play Mega Man Deathmatch. Now, I happen to know that the Mega Man Deathmatch is its own standalone WAD, unlike most Doom modifications. That one you can play just by downloading Xandronum, finding your nearest server and jumping in, and you're good to go, which is probably one of the reasons why Mega Man 2 Deathmatch, the Doom modification, the Doom WAD, is still pretty widely populated. Whenever I jump on Xandronum, there's always a game with at least a few people that's in session. Alright, so this is what I like to do. If I were back home, what would I be doing? What would I be playing now if I could just take Monday off and go home? You know what? In anticipation of Vigilante 8 showing up in the mail, I'd probably play Twisted Metal 2. I would want to set up a nice PlayStation emulator on my computer, because I do have a CD drive. I bought like a DVD drive for my tower, quite some time ago. It hasn't got much use, but I do have one. So I could play the authentic game on my PC, and then maybe do some play some Twisted Metal while I'm streaming or something. I don't know. But I'd want to play some Twisted Metal 2, because that was an amazing find at a thrift shop, and it's gone unplayed. I haven't put it in yet, so I gotta fix that. That's Twisted Metal 2. That was one of the favorites of its day. So that's what I'd probably play. Play that, and I'd probably stream it, or do some recording, and I'd have a good old time. I really would. Oh, and if I may, something that happened last night, I got online and I was able to play Doom 2, good old-fashioned Doom, online with a friend of mine from work, and we played. We got Doom Seeker open, and it was nice. It was like back in the old days. So I know for Doom Night, it all still works, right? I started out by playing a little bit of Mega Man Deathmatch, which is highly populated. There was like 20 people in the game or something like that. Mega Man Deathmatch these days is kind of a tough one, because the people who play it consistently and are very good at it. So it was a little bit difficult for me to walk into. It wasn't too bad. I got a kill here, got a kill there, but by and large, it was a massacre. And then we moved on to Invasion. Invasion mode is still around. That's what we used to play back in the old days of Doom Night. It's a little bit different now than it used to be. It used to be there was no consequences for death, which kind of made it more of like a mindless sort of thing. You would just play and play and play and get killed, and you play and get killed, and it was fine. Now, if you die, you get relegated to this little like jail area, and there's a machine where you can press a button, and a big ball of electricity will ignite, and it'll create some sort of boss, and you have to defeat the boss in order to get back into the game. And the bosses usually are ridiculous. Like it's Doom, so there's a lot of custom stuff. But there was, I remember Shrek, we faced an awful lot. There was a spoon that would go spoon, 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 and swing around back and forth. There was a bagel that was going bagel, 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 and jumping around the screen. A lot of really crazy meme monsters in the invasion mode that you would have to defeat to get back into the main game. And I gotta say, man, filled me with hope that Doom Knight can live and breathe again, because not only is it still around, but it's still around and new stuff has been created, right? When we jump in and play this thing, it's not going to be the same maps that we were playing 5 years ago. It's going to be all new stuff. So get yourself a copy of Xandronum. Xandronum is the GZ Doom plus Doom Seeker all in one package that'll make everything work out of the box. Get that set up so you can come play. Alright, guys and gals. Now, for real this time, that's all I got.
Alright, boys and girls. And just a reminder, next weekend we are going to do Doom Night. I'm not exactly sure which day, but get in touch with me. Dorobcon, I want to see you out there. We're going to play some games. We're going to play some good old-fashioned Doom. Just a heads up that this is an outer space sponsored program. Outer space. That's where the sponsorship comes from. It comes from outer space. And I would like to thank my fellow astronauts from outer space who provide us with funding. They are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Dorobka, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys very much. And let's get back to the show.
Yes. It is Thursday morning. It's time for some Vancast. So last night before I went to bed, I got to stay up and play a little Dead by Daylight, which is a game I'm still finding fun. Ooh, look at that deer. Just saw a deer vault over a nice tall fence this morning. Thankfully, it wasn't in the road. I'll have to keep my eyes peeled because I know they're out now. Dead by Daylight, yeah, I played a few games of that last night with a friend from the office. Had a good time. It's a good game. It's still good, and it's still being updated, which I thoroughly appreciate. They have some sort of summer promotion going on now, where when you go to fix the engines in game, right? Because if you've never played Dead by Daylight, that's the point of it. There's 5 engines. You fix the 5 engines, and then you open the gate, and then you leave. You have to do this while being stalked by the killer. There are engines with like bright colored martini machines on top of them. It's weird. It's weird, but it's really refreshing to see it's still getting updated, and seasonal events and that sort of thing still happening. In the wake of Friday the 13th being completely abandoned in favor of legal safety, which I understand. So that was cool. That was a good night. Chiptunes Equals Win Volume 7 comes out tomorrow. It's Thursday today. Tomorrow it should come out, so I'm looking forward to that. I also picked up something in on the Steam sales. There's a Team 17 publisher sale. And I picked up Worms World Party Reloaded. Or Worms World Party Remastered. I had Worms World Party for the PlayStation back in the day. I'm pretty sure I still have it, disc only. So that was kind of neat to pick up. It was kind of fun to play. Something that felt a lot like Worms Armageddon, but supported a widescreen aspect ratio. And I had a good time. I loaded it up. I played a hot seat game with my kids, which is, hot seat games are usually how I enjoy Worms these days. We play a lot of Worms Armageddon. So it fit for us. But I didn't know until this morning that the online capability doesn't work at all. I heard that just before I left my house, which was kind of disappointing. It's kind of really disappointing. because the online capabilities for Worms Armageddon are still running strong, and there's still people. I have never gone on to the Worms Armageddon, like Wormsnet. I've never gotten on and seen an empty server with nobody there. There's always been people playing some kind of game. People in the old school IRC chatting it up, just like it's 1999 and they're on 400 free hours of AOL or whatever it may be. So I was bummed to hear that Worms World Party did not have that feature up and running. So if you don't own a Worms game, Worms Armageddon remains the de facto Worms title. And it was a Team 17 publisher sale, so that game was on sale as well. I don't know for how much, but you could still get it. It's still available. Just don't get suckered into getting Worms World Party unless you plan to play it on a hot seat basis like I do. I think it was the same thing for Worms 2, right? Worms 2 isn't on Steam, but they sell it on GOG, and that has no online capabilities at all. But at least in the store, on the GOG like storefront, they're pretty upfront about it. This game's only going to work locally. Online has been long since broken. Just beware of that going in. I appreciate that kind of thing. Just be honest with what you have. There's still a product there that some people could enjoy, right? Just tell us what's going on. So, you know, it is what it is. I got up early this morning and shot a video for my second YouTube channel, Hot Tea and MTG. Just a quick Magic the Gathering deck tech breakdown of the blue-red deck I've been using. But when the footage came through fine, but then when I dropped the footage into my video editor, it got all crazy. The audio and video went out of sync again, which happened with my last video, and just, I don't know what went wrong. So I don't know exactly what's happening, but my video editing software does not like the raw footage that my new webcam is making. That happened in my last video on that channel, which is the most recent video that I've shot. I think it's the only video I've shot and released with the new webcam. The audio and video went out of sync, like really badly, and I have no explanation for it. It just happened. Like I was reviewing the footage before I dropped it in the editor, and then I dropped it in the editor, and I kind of figured it was just something with the way it was displaying the preview, so it would fix itself when I rendered it. Because my old computer used to do stuff like that, and it didn't fix itself. That was just how it came out. So I don't know. I'm having issues with the new webcam, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to stepping the quality up a little bit. And to be honest, if I was absolved of all responsibility and I could just go home right now, I'd work on figuring out what happened with that video. Because I shot that twice. It's the biggest pain. When you shoot a video and you realize there's no audio, so you got to shoot it a second time, there's no third shoot. If something happens with that second shoot, chances are that video is getting scrapped. And this was a good one, man. This is the deck that I'm using right now, which changes all the time. You know, I wanted to get that out there so I could get people's feedback on it. Get that video up on Reddit so that the other people who know how to play Magic the Gathering can make fun of me for it and tell me what I'm doing wrong. I would work with my video editing software and figure out why it's doing what it's doing and what I can do to correct it, because something apparently needs to change with my workflow. And with that, we're going to call it a morning. I'll see you guys back in the studio.
Hang with me, guys and gals. We got one more Vancast, and then we're going to do the fail bag. You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
Morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. We're doing a little Vancasting. Got a couple things that I saw that might be worth going over. First and foremost, this Friday, Chiptunes Equals Win Volume 7 comes out. So you guys know how much I like Chiptunes. Chiptunes Equals Win is a great big compilation. So when that thing comes out, that should be plenty of awesome chiptunes to listen to for quite some time. So I encourage you guys to check that out. There's a Bandcamp page where these sort of things go available. And it looks like there's going to be a deluxe edition for sale. Actually, I don't know if it'll be for sale or not, because they usually give those away for free. But there will be a deluxe edition available for a limited time, so you'll have to watch for that, and I'll cover that in the weeks to come. In addition to that, there was also a story about Bethesda blocking the sale of one of their games. Somebody bought, I think it was, what was it, Skyrim? I don't know, one of the Bethesda games. There was a gentleman who bought it, left it unopened, and decided to sell it again, changing their mind. And they packaged it as new. It was untouched. The guy had never opened it. And Bethesda blocked the sale, saying, hey, you're not certified to sell our products new. And here's the problem I have with that. You don't need a certification to sell something new. You don't need to be a certified Bethesda dealer. I'm sorry, it's not how it works. I have a real problem with that. This is the same company that sued Mojang over their game Scrolls because they said it was too much like the Elder Scrolls, making it the most litigious company. Not a bad company. I mean, Bethesda's done some good things. I'm not saying everything Bethesda does is terrible, but I am saying this makes it the single most litigious game company I know of. So it was really sad to see that happen. This wasn't a business that was trying to infringe on Bethesda's rights. This wasn't a guy who was trying to run a Bethesda racket of stealing and selling games as new. This was just a guy who had a game. It was still in the wrapping paper. He changed his mind. He wanted to sell it off. And Bethesda was like, nah, bro, can't do that. And I think allowing it to happen sets a really terrible legal precedent, in my opinion. And I think we can also say that this is not a one-off case from Bethesda. Bethesda, with their legal history, is a company that will do this kind of thing. And it also means that they have no problems going after the individuals personally. Because it wasn't a company. Again, it was just a single guy who was selling a game off of Amazon. So I haven't yet heard anybody argue in favor of Bethesda in this case. I would be interested to hear something like that. But I think it's a sad day. It was a very sad thing that happened, that they were allowed to do it. So because that's really what happened. It's not like you know, there was nobody who stepped in, you know, and stopped him from punching the card on this guy. So yeah, it's a sad thing. It kind of makes me feel like they could come for me at any time, you know. That's Bethesda for you. Bethesda is not the pioneer of anti-consumer practices in video games. They are in the forefront, but I wouldn't say they were the pioneer, but they are the pioneer of crazy video game lawsuits. Crazy video game lawsuits against consumers, because this particular guy was a consumer. So that was the story of the week. Now, I'm sure this poor guy and his whole situation is going to be forgotten about by next week. And it should be the case as well. He tried to sell one game and it got blocked. I mean, I know that sucks, and he's out $60 or whatever it is. But he's still walking and talking and living and breathing and doing his thing, and thankfully he didn't get sued. So it's only a $60 hole and not a $20,000 hole or whatever it costs to get sued these days. And that's it for the Vancaster Tuesday morning. So, as I normally do when I sign off these things, what would I do if I were back in my place? I didn't have to go to work today, and I just had some time to play video games. What would I play? And for right now, I think I would play Pro Wrestling on the Nintendo, because I ordered a copy, it came in the mail, and I never played it even once. Oddly enough, I went to put it in one time, and my son was like, no, I play something else. I don't want you to play that game. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I want to play my copy of Pro Wrestling. That's what I'd play. I imagine I wouldn't play it for a real long time. I know how pro wrestling is. It's not a game you can play for hours. But it is a game nonetheless. a game that I own, that I of and are being ownership person is video game, and is more fun than going to work, but that's how life is. Alright, boys and girls, I'll shoot you back to the studio. I'll see you there.
I did that out of order. That was the Tuesday one, but oh well. Yeah, I was kind of sad to see the Chiptunes compilation didn't come out. I'm sure it will. It just didn't quite make it the day they initially said it would be. And who knows? It could. It's 8:05 p.m. on Friday right now. It could still make it out. You know, when I get on tomorrow, it could be there and whatnot. So let's just say, let's expect to be able to explore that next episode. Nothing new over on Battle of the Bits either. Their last Bandcamp release was another VCV Rack compilation with 5 tracks on it. That's still available to download for free if the VCV Rack type electronic music is your sort of thing. Didn't care much for it myself. The whole thing, I get it that it's not sequenced, it's improvised, but it just seems really kind of out there to me, and I don't know. It was a little bit more than I typically get down with. But that is out there on the electronic music scene if you want to dig into that and give it a try. All right, so let's do the fail bag. Look, it's a small outfit here. It's just me, it's just you, and that's it. Let's compare notes. Let's get together and talk about some things and see what's going on. So I've got an email from our good friend Hemrock. I always like his emails. They're awesome. And I've been interested in getting this one going, sooner in the show rather than later. You might notice that I've kind of been pushing things along a little bit. We're only 32 minutes in. We're doing the fail bag already. Oh, so let's see what Hemrock has to say. He writes, "Hey CF, it's cool that you have some baseball card memories. There was a time in my younger years when I was into collecting sports cards, but it was primarily basketball cards. Michael Jordan was the sports king of the 90s. Anyways, collaboration on Linux-only Morrowind mods sounds interesting, but potentially difficult. I might let OpenMM mature a little bit more before I dive into that. I'd also really need to get acquainted with the tools they provide. I'd like to make a mod that makes it easier to display the books that you can collect across the game in a more organized fashion. Perhaps there can be bookshelves that act like a chest where you simply drag and drop the book, and it automatically places it nicely on the shelf. Glad to hear you're getting into MTG Online. Let me know when you start. I haven't played in a couple of weeks. I think you can use any typical lands, forest, mountain, swamps, regardless of age in Standard in the Magic the Gathering duels." That's nice. "I've officially downloaded the Manjaro installer, but I haven't made the switch. If I do change to Manjaro, I'll lose Windows 7 VirtualBox that I used to play Alpha Centauri email game on, so I'll have to try to get that going again. I might actually be able to get Alpha Centauri to run straight off of Linux. I have a fear that I'll not be able to get Civ 2 to run in Wine on Manjaro. However, it's been a while since I last tried. Question: as long as I install Manjaro in my Linux Mint partition, will I not have to mess with grub? Will the grub menu automatically work when booting up the computer after installing Manjaro? Will this possibly compromise my Windows 10 partition?" Ugh. "You mentioned the missing ingredient to making reviews is the writing portion. Do you remember your review of the Game Genie? That was something you only released on TCR around episode 50. Basically, you did all the audio, but for whatever reason, you gave up putting on putting in the video. Have you ever thought about going back and finishing that one? Thanks a ton for the list of Xbox games. I actually own some of those you mentioned, including Enclave and Gun, both of which I just picked up a few weeks ago and have yet to play. You mentioned the first Project Gotham, and while I never played that one, I have Project Gotham Racing 2, and that's an incredible game. It's a fun blend of both simulation and arcade racing, all wrapped up into one. Magic the Gathering Battlegrounds is another good little title you mentioned. Excuse me, it doesn't say little here. Another good title you mentioned, and probably one of the most hidden of the hidden gem type games I've played on the OG Xbox. I'm a bit surprised it doesn't get much attention. I've given some thought to making my own video of Xbox hidden gems, and that would almost certainly be on it. Speaking of Xbox, it appears the original Xbox is gaining popularity. Fortunately, I have the majority of the OG Xbox games I want before the prices start to rise too much. Do you think it might be a good time to start collecting for the PS3 as it slowly passes from modern gamers and hasn't reached the point of nostalgia? If you could have any of the current generation consoles, which one would you choose and why? Well, in any case, keep rolling retro, Hemrock. Hemrock, my man, lots of good stuff in this email. Let's go through it and see what we can break down. First thing you said was Michael Jordan was the sports king of the 90s. Yeah, I liked baseball cards too. And if you remember from watching Space Jam, he also played professional baseball. I never got a Michael Jordan baseball card, but he did play for the White Sox. That was a real thing that happened in real life. I'm going to skip over all the stuff about Manjaro and the safety of your Windows partition, because we've talked about this since then, and I'm gonna wait to let you fill us in on how that went down. Magic the Gathering Online, I'm setting up my account this weekend. I've got the $10 to register the account, and then next weekend I'll have another $10 to go out and get a deck's worth of cards. So it's going to be another week before we can play together, but I'm really looking forward to it. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering tonight with my kids. Put up a couple new videos in the last couple days on my Magic the Gathering channel. I've really had the bug lately. It's been good, and I'm still digging it too. Normally when I get this deep into something, I tend to burn out, but I'm loving the Magic the Gathering. It's been great. Let's see. What else did you say? Oh yeah. You asked about writing reviews. You know, I don't have any of the resources for that old video. If that was episode 50, I can't place like what year that was, but around that time I was really struggling with content. That was when my son was, I don't think my daughter was born yet. I want to say my son must have been like 3, and I really had to kick the parenthood into high gear. So I don't really have any resources. I don't have too many resources for old projects. I still have a lot of play footage for Suikoden, and I have play footage for Tetris Attack, and that's really it. I want, oh, and I have my old introduction. That's it. I want to do more reviews like that. I would, for the most part, have to start from scratch. It's doable, but I'd have to do it. Let's see. Let me know what you think of Enclave. I got that game for 99 cents on Steam several years back, and I haven't run it. It's supposed to be good, though. It's supposed to be one of those games that people get without realizing it's going to be anything good, and then get really deep into. And you talked about the market. Xbox games are starting to go up, right? We all kind of saw that coming. There was an announcement. Well, not an announcement, but they added some backwards compatibility with the original Xbox and Xbox One. So we all kind of knew that based on that the prices were going to go up a little bit, and that's fine. I have a stack of Xbox games I've gotten in the meantime. You know, a few. I still like those games. I still think they're worth collecting. But then you mentioned something interesting. Is it worth it to collect the last generation, PS3? And I would also append Xbox 360 onto that. Both of those are perfect to collect for right now. Alex Swingle was telling me about all the awesome PS3 stuff that he's collected, taking advantage of being able to get these games for like $3 and stuff. I think this is a perfect time to collect for the PS3. Absolutely. Let's see. And now you asked, which one of the current generation consoles would I own? You know, to be honest, I don't know the answer to that, and that's part of the reason why I don't own one, because I could save my pennies and make it happen. They're not that expensive. It's what, a few $100 to get a system and some things, right? I would probably get the cop-out answer is I would get the Nintendo Switch, because that's what I know my son wants. The real answer, I really consider, I came the closest to getting an Xbox, because now everybody has a service charge, and that was what stopped me from getting into the Xbox harder than I did. Oh, you got to pay to use the multiplayer every year. Well, now every system's like that. So, okay, might as well just do the Xbox then. Might as well just do the one that my friends particularly happen to use. So I got a friend who lives around here who only plays the Xbox. And then also we got Death Adder. So if I got an Xbox and I bought, say, Dead by Daylight or something, but he gave up that game. I don't know. I would be more likely to play with people I know if I got an Xbox, I believe. I would really have to take a straw poll on what my friends have, and that would be the determining factor. Assuming I were to get one for myself and not factor in what my son wants, which, is not going to be how it goes down, but for the sake of conversation. So Hemrock, my man, awesome email, brother. Thanks for writing in. It's always good to hear from you. All right, let's move it back. Let's move it back to YouTube. We got a few comments on last week's episode. Let's read those. Kaiser Cade, good old retro freaking Kaiser, one of the OG commenters here on Tiger Claw Radio. This guy, for those of you who haven't been with us quite this long, he was making comments on episode 3 of Tiger Claw Radio. What are we up in the 240s? This has got to be 248 by now. He left comments on episode 3, and he was a teenager in those days. And he writes, breaks through problems wall. Oh yeah! On the rug and sees blood red. Oh no! Kaiser, you know what? As little sense as that made, it's good to hear from you again on TCR, brother. It's really good to hear from you again. We got one from What's Up My Shelf, who talks about a little bit about New Horizons, which is awesome to hear about. I came across New Horizons for the Sega Genesis at a thrift store a couple years ago. It was $2, so I picked it up. If I hated it, I knew it would be worth the cash. Wow, was I surprised. The game is so complex. It has many different characters, starting at different points on the globe with interweaving storylines and an inventory and resource system that makes you break out the pen and paper. There may be a better way to track resource availability and the values at different cities. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but it gets complicated quickly. I remember enjoying the bounty hunting feature as well. I have no idea whether it's historically accurate. I think the Pirates game by Rare on the NES is more so, but New Horizons is so much more captivating than that desecrated turd. Anyone who loves Anyone who loves pirates should really play New Horizons. Also, I think if you like the game Monopoly, you would love Uncharted Waters New Horizons. Alright, a few things about that, my man. One thing that Pirates got that New Horizons never got was a modernized version on Steam. It's the same game, but they cleaned up the graphics, they gave it a new engine, they made it so you could play it on modern computers. New Horizons badly needs that. Badly, badly, badly. I think the only problem with the original Pirates is that it was older than New Horizons, so you can feel the difference in technology. I think they were just able to make New Horizons much more complicated just because. I don't know, that's my opinion. But yeah, I like New Horizons a lot more. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Now, I played it on the Super Nintendo, so I'm not familiar with the Genesis version. I was talking about this with Swingle the other day, and he was telling me that from the PC original, they had to rip a lot of stuff out when they moved it to the Super Nintendo. So they might have ripped out different things for the Genesis, right? So the Genesis version could be very different. Now I kind of want to go back and play it and see. But yeah, such a good game. Such a good game. I used to play as the Pirates. I liked doing the Pirates, and specifically the sword fights that were based on playing cards. You would pick out a card for your action in the sword fight, and it's basically like a paper, rock, scissors with numbers. It's pretty cool, man. It's a cool game. It really was. Thanks for writing in. It's really cool to hear that somebody else has acquired Uncharted Waters too. I'd love to get that Sega game. You know what? You know what, my dude? We're going to see what that Sega game costs on the eBays right now. Right now, son. Uncharted Waters Sega. Let's try it. Uncharted Aerobiz and Uncharted Waters for $20. Okay, that's a twofer. What about just Uncharted Waters? 35, 30. Okay, so here's the thing. New Horizons was a sequel. It was Uncharted Waters 2. It looks like Sega Genesis has the original Uncharted Waters as well, which I didn't know. My interest is piqued. You're looking at a little less than $40 for Uncharted Waters 2, and the original one is well, there's a buy it now right there that's got it for 20. We're gonna put the original one at 20. I think this is one of those deals where if you took your time and scraped it, you could get it for a lot cheaper. But those are a couple of games that have some dollars on them for sure. It looks like it came with a paper map as well. Uncharted Waters poster / map for Sega Genesis. Yeah, so maybe you were supposed to do that on pen and paper. I know some of these old console games, you just had to keep track of notes on pen and paper, and that's just how it was. Awesome comment, my man. Now I got to go find that that game for the Genesis. That would be sweet. All right, let's see what else we got. We got one more from Desm101, our good buddy Desm. He writes at 56 minutes and 45 seconds in, I am familiar with Epic Pinball and Pinball Construction yet, but have yet to play either. Although I do know both are quite legendary among gamers for their contributions to the medium. You do well to remind me of the importance of PC games. Most of my recent pinball sessions have been spent playing Saturn pinball games, True Pinball, Necronomicon, and Fantastic Pinball, and the amazing pinball collection Pinball Arcade has of real tables for the PS Vita / PS TV. I'm glad you brought up pinball for the Sega Saturn. It's been a little while since I looked at Sega Saturn games, but I'm going to look it up right now. Sega Saturn pinball. It's one I wanted to ask you about specifically. Pinball. Pinball! Sonic Spinball. You ever play Sonic Spinball for the Sega Genesis? The Sonic Spinball Japanese commercial used to have me laughing pretty hard as a kid. I don't even know how this happened, but I had a friend who dug it up at some point. He got a video file, like a .mov or like a QuickTime file, or in the early days of the internet. He got this off of dial-up, off of AOL. So he must have sat there for like an hour downloading this TV commercial. It was the Japanese TV commercial for Sonic Spinball, and it was all in Japanese with really excited voiceover, you know, the way commercials do. But in the middle of the Japanese language, we could pick out the excited words "funky action," and just the funky action. Oh, this is the best. So Sonic Spinball has forever become funky action for us in my circles. But speaking of funky action, let's get back to pinball on the Sega Saturn. I see a few. So Pro Pinball. I actually have Pro Pinball disc only for the PS1, but I don't know where it is. How is Hyper 3D Pinball? Because I had a chance to buy that for cheap at one point, and I let it go. So that was the first Saturn pinball game that I was going to acquire. It looks like there's a few out there, like Pro Pinball, Last Gladiators Digital Pinball. We've also got it looks like a Japanese pinball, Tekkyu True Pinball Sega Saturn. There you go. That's a Japanese game for $15. There's a few different pinball games for the Saturn. I'm kind of shocked to see so much pinball available for it. Fantastic Pinball again. Yeah, some good stuff. How's Hyper 3D Pinball? That's the question. Pinball Graffiti, another import pinball game. Sweet. Sega Saturn's a good system. So yeah, and you were mentioning about like the importance of PC gaming. There's a lot of really good pinball for the PC. I had I talk about this on the air all the time. When I was a kid, I collected big box PC games. You could go into GameStop at any time and buy some big box PC games. The walls were lined with them in the 90s. And one of the things I bought was, it was like a bargain bin, not a bargain bin game, but it was common to see large boxes that were supposed to contain several games. Think like, I don't know, Command & Conquer had one of these. It was a great big wide box, the size of like 2 big box PC games, and it had all the Command & Conquer games. There was one that was like Pinball, I don't know, Pinball Worlds or Pinball something, some generic name. And it had a bunch of boxed pinball games in it. One was a game called Pinball Builder, and that's why I got it. Not Pinball Construction Set, but Pinball Builder, which was a game that only existed for Windows 95 and never worked for anything else. But that's not why I bring this set up. It also had a game called Balls of Steel, which was a Duke Nukem themed pinball table. Now that was available on Steam for a little while, but it's gone now. And it also had a game, a Worms themed pinball table. That was awesome. There was more than that I can't remember, but those were some truly awesome PC pinball games. And we had the Pinball FX2 game, which has some amazing tables on it. You know, if you want to go more modern, yeah, there's some awesome pinball on the PC. But we can't forget the most important pinball game ever on PC. I believe it was called Space Pinball, and it was packaged with it was Space Cadet. That was it. It was which was a table from a program called Full Tilt Pinball, and it came packaged with Windows 98, I believe. Everybody had this pinball game on the PC back in the day. Have you ever played Full Tilt Pinball Space Cadet? That is a pinball game for the ages. Also, hey man, you're the pinball guy, right? We should figure out something we both have and get a high score battle going. That's what I think. Alright, boys and girls. Whatever has brought you here, 52 minutes and 30 seconds into Tiger Claw Radio. Thanks for spending time with me. You know, time is the greatest currency. It really is. And I value the time that you spent here hanging out. Getting a soda, getting a beer, whatever it is you got. And just chilling out and talking to video games. Talking about some games, you know. And if you're in the car right now on the way to work, I encourage you to keep going and don't stop. Just smash right through your day. Take your problems head on, because that's what I intend to do. Let's meet up on Monday and compare notes. Have a good week. I'm rooting for you. I'll see you next time.